It pays to be a winner, especially when you get a ring like this. What do the Chiefs' Super Bowl 58 rings look like? And what do you think comes next here on Locked On Chiefs?
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome in, everybody. We're brought to you today by FanDuel. Every moment is more. You can do that right now. You new customers will get $200 back in bonus bets for winning a $5 bet on anything. That's $200 back in bonus bets on a $5 win. FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's where you can go to get started. We are going to get started because it's not a bet, but the Kansas City Chiefs, their entire roster and then some, just got paid. So what do these rings look like? We're going to break it all down for you. Make sure that you are here all day, every day, just like we are 5 days a week. You can find us here on YouTube, where you can like and sub and hit the bell. And go over to Spotify and Apple Music. Anywhere you can get an audio podcast for free, you're going to find us 5 days a week. Plus, you can find Chris over at Chiefs Corner, breaking down everything across the league, particularly about quarterback play, stats, cap, the whole 9 yards that you guys need to know this time of year as we look for the culmination in training camp. And I'm Ryan Tracy, the founder of Rogue Analytics and Performance Consulting. You can find me at Rogue APC at NFL33.com. You can find me at RGR Football. It's a good time to be in the summertime, and we're going to get after it. If you need breaking news, 816-357-8781 is where you want to go. And where I want to go is down to the Jostin store to get myself one of these rings. We're going to talk about everybody that was back, the reunion that is a ring ceremony. Who are the guys that just are above and beyond? And we're probably taking for granted the fact that there are 3 ring holders on this roster now. But first and foremost, I just got to say, this thing is crazy. What was your initial reaction, your takeaways from this ring?
It's absolutely gorgeous. And it's funny because, I follow Matt McMullen, and I think he follows me on Twitter, and he changed his profile picture because he started in Kansas City in 2017. He's now got 3 Super Bowl rings.
Yep.
And he said so many things have changed since Kansas City drafted Patrick Mahomes, and he had an interview. His profile picture was an interview of him interviewing Patrick Mahomes in 2017, and now he's got 3 Super Bowl rings, along with all the players. Obviously, Mitch Holtis, Andy Reid, all those guys have them all as well. But the staff get him. That's one of the coolest things to me is the team continues to take care of everybody that helps them. And you start looking at this. This is really cool. It's a fantastic ring design, and they hit it out of the park.
You're not kidding. I mean, the customization, the first thing that stands out to me is I like knowing, for Patrick in particular, they're going to use him as the poster boy here, right? Got the MVP on it. It's got the C. The captains all get a C on it, and there's always 17 of them or whatever, so there's plenty of that to go around. They've got the championship years for the franchise, and I really like that. Even though people will say, well, why does Mahomes have the 69 championship on his ring? It's because he's part of the core of this franchise, and that's what it is. And the historic part of it, I really like seeing.
Everybody has those on it. It doesn't matter who you are as a player, because I think it's on the interior where they actually mention the years that they played for the Chiefs. So that is going to be the same for every player with the number. And it's just a great design. I think that's fantastic. I'm curious to see what you have for the guy, the people that aren't players, because what's Reed getting there instead of a 15? What is Mitch Holtis getting? And that type of thing. But
yeah, I'd like a golden microphone in there if I was him.
There you go. Something like that. That'd be awesome.
I love the back-to-back, and they always do a good job of putting the specific Super Bowl logo in there. But I like that they included the overtime this time. That's another one of those small details, along with Lamar on the bottom outside of the ring, and Mrs. Hunt, we'll refer to her, Norma on the inside. So I like they're both juxtaposed on the bottom, the interior of the ring if you're wearing it. You know what I mean? I think that's super cool.
Yeah, and overall, I mean, they did a lot of, you showed one of my favorite parts. You moved it back from what I was wanting to talk about.
We can go there.
Yeah. The interior of the ring. There you go. That's what I was talking about. The 2019, 2022, 2023. those are the years that Mahomes was on the Kansas City Chiefs. So that's what it's signifying, the years that he was involved with the team. And obviously, I would think, Clark Hunt probably is one of the only ones that probably has all four of them in there. But the interior play is insane. And to have that done in Andy Reid's handwriting is even cooler.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. And you get the idea, the pin and pull action's all in there, the counter action out of the running back there. And obviously, I think it gives a better visualization. We should probably take this away as a whole other show of what the Chiefs are thinking when they draw this up. And I think the key to it, you guys, hopefully, if you are listening on audio, make sure you go back and watch the video version of this show, because we are showing you the play here. It's this little motion right here in the middle. It's that corner motion going along with the Z that makes this play. And I love that they put that in the ring, and everyone for all of history is going to remember the details of that just because of having the playbook on the inside. I think that was a great detail.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is. And then, another detail, it says the years that the player's there, but it also has the Lombardis in the middle of the ring, which you kind of miss if you're not looking for it to an extent. So it has 3 Lombardis from Mahomes. And we talked about this the other day. Guys like McDuffie and Williams and them, they're going to have 2 of those. They're going to have 2022, 2023 as their rings, and it's going to look a little bit different for them. But all they know is winning Super Bowls in Kansas City. That entire draft class.
It must be a tough life, right? For the rookies and the second-year players, there's nowhere to go but down, fellas. So welcome to it. I hope that you can power through. We're going to power through, and we're going to talk about who those ring holders are and what it means in significance to each of them. That's on the backside of this. You're on the Locked On Podcast Network. There are very few times like this that you can get into the action on any number of sports. Baseball is in full swing at this point. The NBA Finals and the NHL Finals are all going on, and you can bet it all at FanDuel.com. Right now, new customers are getting $200 in bonus bets just for winning a $5 bet. Whether you saw the series in the NHL go to 5 games and it didn't happen, or whatever happens next in the NBA, you can still get in on it. As long as there's games to be played, you can participate, and that rolls right over into baseball season. $200 back. Everything from who the finals MVP is going to be to who is the first guy to hit it out of the park on a given 3-game stand in baseball. You can do it all at FanDuel.com/LockedOn. You can do that and win big with your summer hit list. Get it at FanDuel.com/LockedOn, America's #1 sportsbook. I like that you mentioned the participation value. And if you guys want to participate in 24/7 coverage, make sure you sign up and get subbed over at Locked On Sports Today here on YouTube or on Fire TV on Amazon. It's those players. You're right. If Norma were here, she'd have 4 imprints in there. Clark will as well. That makes perfect sense. Andy's now got 3. Veach has 3. Yeah, sure. I don't know if there's any other employees that have been here since the 60s, so I think that's about it. But
that's kind of that was my point. Yeah.
It's the 3-peaters. It's not just Mahomes, but it's Reed, it's Veach. It's going to be Borgonzi. There's going to be a bunch of people in the front office. I believe Ryan Nutt was here for 19 as well. I'd have to go back and check that, but at least one other front office executive is here building this roster. So you get that payoff. You obviously get Trav and Chris and Mahomes that are on the player side, but there's also the media production. A lot of people go into 65 Toss Power Trap. A lot of people have been with this organization the whole time. Alan Wright has a stack of these at this point as well. Kudos to all of them. And what it sets my mind wondering about, other than that hinge that we saw, the hinge is the only thing that makes me nervous on those.
Right.
Because it's like, how can you get that repaired if something goes wrong? That is my instant question every time. But other than that,
I'm sure that Justin will repair it.
Yeah, I'm sure they can take care of that. The question will be, how readily available are these things? Because that hinge, man, that is just, it looks robust in the picture, but you got to remember this is a ring this big around, right? And that's the thing that brings me to my next thing. If you are one of the guys, I don't know if you saw Travis. Travis couldn't get all three on one hand. Patrick did, but Travis had to go to a second hand to get these things because they're so huge. And I think that's going to get harder and harder for these guys that already have three, especially if they're staring down a run at a 4.
Well, and don't forget, you have guys. I'm trying to think. Harrison Butker's another one that would have 3 with the Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Tooney wasn't here in 2019, but he's got multiple other rings with the Patriots. So,
fair point.
But I'm trying to think, is there any other players? Because 2019 doesn't seem like it was that long ago. But with as young as this roster is, it really, I mean, McCall Hardman would have 3. But other than that, I think you're starting to get into Derek Nottie. Was Mike Dana here in 2019? Was that his draft year? I want to say he was
drafted the next year. I'm going to go have to check that.
But I mean, you're getting to a point where you only have a handful of guys that were drafted in or were in Kansas City before 2019 because this roster is so young.
Yeah, it's to that point where there are good problems to have. Like, hey, can I fit all of my Super Bowl rings on my fingers at one time? Some of those guys are really starting to stack up, but I think it's the next generation. Like you mentioned these guys as well. The second-year players where they've got a pair of these now, and that's all that they've known. It's almost like an expectation. I don't care how good a player you are in the back of your mind. Once you get one of these, the drive is always to get back. We hear that from every retired player that's ever played, especially won a Super Bowl. But now that you've got a pair of them, like you just have to keep pushing that far down in order to get that done. I'm not sure that there's a way to be comfortable with that. That's going to be my big question.
Yeah, and that's a huge question. And you made a great point. Travis Kelce had to have the rings on 2 different hands. Mahomes was able to get it done on one. I'm curious what it would feel like just to have one of them on your finger, let alone 3. I mean, because they're huge rings and they're going to be heavy. With all those diamonds that they have and all the rubies that they have and just the interior design, all of it is something just to behold. It's impressive. I'm really curious to see how they would build on it. We've already kind of talked. They're chasing, a third in a row. I'm really curious to see what they would do once they get there, because I do think that they've got a great chance to get there this year. But I'm sitting here looking at the rest of the roster. I can't find anybody else that I think would have 3 rings.
No, and you're absolutely right. Mike Dana, along with Lucas Niang and Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Willie Roaf, who just left this season, they were drafted the summer after the first Super Bowl. So they
Willie Gay, not Willie Roaf.
Oh, did I say Willie Roaf? Oh, I miss you, Willie.
Yes.
Sorry about that. Sometimes that happens. By the way, the first interview I ever did with a Chiefs ex-player was Willie Roaf. He was amazing, and I still remember that to this day. So, cheers to him.
No.
Now again, having one sets you up for the drive, and I think that that's important. Having these layers of guys that have participated, some with 3, some with 2, a lot that just joined the roster last year and have one. Drew Tranquil is one of those guys. I think that all feeds into Hollywood and the new acquisitions and who's coming next. I think that is a motivational factor that for maybe the last 3 seasons, we haven't given enough credit to, especially to the guys who played in the Super Bowl and lost. That's a hell of a motivation factor as well. But the other thing that I think really stands out to me is that you have to pick and choose. Whatever you don't, let's be honest. There's a mistake, at least in the promo pictures for this ring. You got to take every little grain of salt that, hey, something that is wrong that you can correct. Patrick said in his presser yesterday, we have to take away all the little things. Even though we won this, we have to take the things that we can still improve on and make it that much more. And I hope the ring continues to motivate them.
Yeah, and Jocelyn's better hope that was a Chiefs error and not theirs, because that would be an expensive error to fix.
And
So
I'm betting it's just the promo material and not the actual pieces themselves. But
you better hope, because that would be
knock on wood.
expensive to fix. I don't know how many rings that they did, but when you talk about the players, you're talking upwards of probably 75, closer to maybe 78 players, because you have guys that were on injured reserve, you have practice squad players, lots of different people fall into that. Then you talk front office, you talk, the coaching staff, you talk, the staff. They got staff members rings, so you could be talking about a ton of rings, and that would be a problem for Jostens if they're the ones that made the mess up. And I hope you're right. I hope it's on the promo stuff. That would be a lot better than it being on the ring. But you look at this and you look at what it means for this franchise. They're chasing ring number 3 in a row. Now several of them have 3 rings. And, we mentioned it yesterday. Hollywood Brown is coming to Kansas City. He's chasing a ring now. Any guys you add in the draft this year, Kingsley Suamatia, we talked about this. He's going to be chasing a ring to try to get one in front of Penei Sewell. And, and I apologize, that was on Friday's show. But regardless, you're in a situation where all these guys are going to have even more motivation after seeing these rings. And so it's going to be a lot of fun to see what they're able to do this season for that reason.
I think everybody has a good time. Fun's part of the motivation here today on a Friday, folks. So when we get back, it's a bit of a reunion for this roster that just won this championship. Who was where, when, and how? Coming up next on the Locked On Podcast Network.
As a golfer, for years I've been hearing PXG say nobody makes golf clubs like they do, period. And they're absolutely correct. I actually just got my PXG driver, and it is fantastic. Really looking forward to using it a little bit more in the near future. I went and I swung the PXG Black Ops driver. It is a total game changer, and you no longer have to sacrifice distance for forgiveness. No matter how good the tools, getting fitted can take your game to a whole new level, and they'll even give you a dozen golf balls for free just for doing it. One of the things I loved about this is getting the experience of going in and working with a PXG expert. He was able to set up the club to what I need, based on how I swing, how I hit the ball, and adding distance and adding a little bit of height to my drive. It was a fantastic thing to do, and it was a lot of fun to get fitted for a golf club. PXG made me a believer. They'll do the same for every golfer in Kansas City. Go visit pxg.com/lockedonchiefs to schedule your fitting at PXG Kansas City, 7517 West 119th Street in Overland Park. Get fitted for any club, and you'll get a dozen golf balls free. That's pxg.com/lockedonchiefs to schedule your fitting. pxg.com/lockedonchiefs. Limit 1 dozen golf balls per person. Promotion ends June 30th. Other terms and conditions may apply. See the store for details.
Now, it is Football Friday around here, and it brings back some memories. I think one of the coolest aspects was seeing everybody get back together. A couple of faces that were here that have since departed. One in particular, I think really stands out, Nick Allegretti, a guy that I think we're going to be talking in reference to for the next few months as we try to figure out who's going to take on his sixth man role on this offensive line unit.
Yeah, no, and it was great seeing Nick there. And then you also you talk about Nick Allegretti, and he was drafted in 2019. So he's one that actually has 3 rings. He obviously won't be chasing the 4th in Kansas City, but he does have 3 of those rings. But the one that's really stuck out to me is seeing BJ Thompson there. And I understand he's not technically, he's still on the roster, and I get all that, but it's a huge deal for him to be able to be healthy enough to go to something like that and be in front of the media and do all the media stuff that he was going to have to do going to that event.
Yeah, kudos to him. It is great to see him out there. We don't know any medical update on him, so just the fact that you can show your face and you're able to walk in and enjoy the evening with the rest of your teammates after something that, quite frankly, I'm sure is not only scary to him, but snuck up on him. That kind of situation, as I understand, didn't have a history. And so it's good, I think, for mental recovery from something like that, to be able to just put that aside, celebrate your victories with your teammates, and being there in person was a big lift. I think you can see that throughout the roster as well.
Yeah, and it's fantastic to be able to see him there. MBS was there. I saw a couple of pictures with him with, I think, Kadarius Toney. So I mean, players came back, and Tommy Townsend saw him as well. So we'll see who else was there. It's always fun to have these type of events, and it's always fun to be able to talk about these type of events because, you know, you and I have been doing this 8 years. We're going into our 8th season of doing this. And if you would have told us 8 years ago that we would be covering this team for, 3 Super Bowls in 6 years and 3 Super Bowl rings in a 5 or 6 year period and 4 Super Bowls played. And I mean, I don't think either of us would have believed that. I thought that Andy Reid was going to be a great coach, and a lot of that goes to him. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes has taken this team to a whole new level. But just to be able to talk about this, just to be able to look at where this franchise has come in the last 7 or 8 years, a lot of fun, and it's going to be a lot more fun covering this team continuing going forward. And I'm curious to see. We're still trying to see who else was there because we saw some pictures, but I'm sure that there will be more that came out. But it's fun to have the roster back together for one more time. And the most important thing, though, and I think Reed said this during his interview yesterday, is it's a lot of fun to have those type of events. It's a lot of fun to get the ring, but the whole team has moved on. They're working towards getting to number 3 in a row. They're working towards getting their 4th in the last 6 years, 7 years. And they're in a situation where they know this is something to celebrate. This is something to have fun. But the entire team has moved on. And this is the absolute probably last thing that they're going to be looking at going back to the 2023 season. And now it's full steam ahead going to 2024.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. It's got to be acknowledge it and move on. And I think that's what they're doing. We are going to do the same now that the offseason program has come to its conclusion. Wrapping up here with the ring ceremony, we're moving on to looking ahead to training camp starting tomorrow. Make sure that you are tuned in. A lot of changes are in store for this team this season, not just on the field, but off as well. And we're going to cover it all piece by piece and give you all the information that you're looking for before the Chiefs get to training camp. As of right now, we don't have those dates, but they should be out shortly. And we'll break that down for you coming here very, very quickly. Thank you for being with us to this point in the offseason. Make sure you like and sub. Hit the bell here on YouTube. Subscribe on Spotify, Apple Music, or anywhere that you would like. We are free 5 days a week. We appreciate this. Enjoy your Father's Day and enjoy being back with a 3-peat champion. We'll talk to you tomorrow.